Is South Africa going to the dogs again? Apparently not. This Work Life Matters season shares informal and candid chats with some of South Africa's youngest startups, businessmen and women, with an understanding of our past and a passion for our future. Our guests draw from Zansi as an inspiration to grow personally, as a brand, and individuals, fusing international ideas into a truly South African model, sized to fit our people, economy, and culture. This episode, we speak to Yolanda Senekal, founder of Gloei Beauty. I look forward to this one. Yolanda Senekal, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. You're the founder of Gloei or Glow, right?
Gloei.
Glow, yeah. So please, I actually researched some information about the company as the founder of one of SA's cleanest beauty brands. Tell me about that.
Well, where to start? Gloei or Gloei we are a clean brand. We're vegan, we're cruelty-free, and we use ingredients that have no potential links to being hazardous to our health. And it's quite an unsaturated space in South Africa. So, it's very exciting.
How did you come up with the concept? Because, people, Gen Zs especially, want to make sure that things are ethically, people are doing good things and giving back. What is the plan? Was it a personal goal to be able to go, I want to create something that is, doesn't hurt people or the animals or all that kind of stuff? How did the brand come about?
So it was largely inspired by the fact that I lived abroad. So I studied and then worked in the beauty and fashion industry in Paris and New York.
Just Paris, just New York. Like, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Yes, well, now I'm back here.
Yes.
That experience just really exposed me to the best makeup in the world and attitudes towards clean beauty. So I had switched my routine to using only clean beauty products, and when I moved back to Cape Town and went makeup shopping, I was actually astonished at the lack of products like those that I'd fallen in love with overseas. So that gap really inspired me, but I didn't want to just replicate what was working over there. I didn't want to be another brand like the brands that they are in the US or in Europe. I did really want to tailor it to the South African audience and make a brand that's still quintessentially South African while still, being part of those international trends.
So who was your target market?
So, it is predominantly Gen Z because the attitudes towards clean beauty and multi-use beauty and it's sort of also minimalist beauty is very Gen Z, and the packaging is also quite fun and quite young. But at the end of the day, this product will work for everyone because it looks amazing on mature skin because it's cream-based. So it is for everyone, even though the attitudes and everything is definitely influenced by Gen Z predominantly.
And how has it been marketing to Gen Zs? Because I don't know, how old are you?
I'm 29, so
29.
I'm technically a millennial, I believe.
Yeah, you're one of us.
Yes,
you're one of us. So we do see things differently.
Definitely.
And we're a different market more than anyone, because some people say don't generalize, but it's getting harder to not generalize because they're actually pretty much one. Millennials are different to them.
It's been fun. It's been fun for me. I have 3 younger sisters, and they're all Gen Zs. So I've been very well inducted into the TikTok cult. So I'm very familiar with the attitudes. I've been loving it, and they've been loving the brand. So I don't know if I'm just still running on this high from people just being super nice about the brand. I don't know how it's going to be if we ever get some serious criticism. I don't know how I'm going to handle that. But so far, Gen Z's been fun, and it's been very cool because they're very interactive. So we market mostly on social media, and it's very cool kind of having more of a conversational relationship to our customers. So instead of just marketing at them, we're kind of marketing with them. So it's cool.
So you said something that's quite interesting, and a lot of people don't say it because obviously people don't want to admit it, but you said you don't know how you handle the negativity that comes. That's quite honest of you. That is I take it you're lucky not to have met
Very
any negativity.
lucky.
What do you think, is there any ways of, have you any foresight how you'll handle that? Because it is coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
Because at the end of the day, it's like failure and death.
Yes.
2 things that are definitely going to happen, but people act like they're never going to happen. Failure and death, and negative comments will definitely come.
So I mean, the reason I'm worried about it is because Gloei is like my baby. It's like my child. So it's not just a company to me, but the kind of foresight that I have about it. And I mean, there's been some slight negative comments over the year that we've been in business.
Only a year?
Only a year.
Wow, congrats.
Thank you. And my plan is kind of that I need to kind of divorce myself from the brand. And criticism is not necessarily a bad thing because this might be a way that we can make things better. So that's kind of the attitude that I'm going to go with, but we'll see when it comes.
And in business, how do you differentiate between constructive criticism and just damn trolls?
Exactly. That's exactly
that's the
thing.
fine line.
Constructive, we love that. We can work with that. We can do something with that. It's the trolls that really get you down, but it's so obvious when the criticism has no base. But that being said, I can know that on a logical level and still cry about it for 2 days.
Agreed. It's the same as when you're in a terrible relationship. When you break up, you're still sad.
Exactly.
I don't know why I'm sad, but I'm still sad.
You're like, it's for the best, but it hurts.
Goals for the brand? What are the ambition? What is the future of the brand that you have?
That's an amazing question.
I try.
So, I mean, we only have 2 products to start with. We're working on a lot more. It would be amazing for me if we had this like huge range that ticked all the boxes, that we could be someone's go-to brand at every stage of their makeup routine, and if we could change up the industry to conform to higher standards when it comes to ethics and sustainability.
And then to be ethical, is it not more expensive?
Yes, it's more expensive.
Yes. So how are you dealing with that, with the price points and everything? Because it is, sometimes you feel like even when you want to eat healthier, it definitely costs more. But why are you doing it?
I think it's important to do it because if the more brands that are on offer that are doing this, it'll eventually hopefully drive down the costs of the raw materials and stuff, because if we can just completely eliminate the bad ingredients, then hopefully this will be the new norm. But for me, it is very difficult to compete with the prices of products that don't use as good ingredients as ours, but we do still try to keep our prices as accessible as possible. We are a bit more of an expensive brand, but we're still cheaper than the international versions. Like, we're cheaper than MAC, we're cheaper than Bobbi Brown.
What overseas was able to, because for me, when I'm overseas, I see things and I'm like, oh, that would work in South Africa.
Yes.
Why don't we have that? And we all have those moments, but what is your moment of going, actually, I need to do this? Because people, if you've traveled, and you seem like you've traveled a lot, there's many things overseas that you're like, this would work in South Africa. Yes. Why is it not here? But we don't really always go, push through and actually do the things that actually would work here.
Right. I mean, the customer that we have here, this Gen Z customer, they like in tune with all the same trends as the customers overseas. They want the same things. So it's kind of crazy to me that we don't have the access to that, especially because we have creative people here. We have the people that have the skills to do this. I think probably what's lacking the most is capital. And it is hard to do. Now that I've done it, I'm like, oh, that's why no one is doing makeup brands in South Africa. It's really hard.
Tell me the process of it, because I don't think people realize how difficult it is. Because I'm even looking at your branding. Your branding looks very international. It looks accessible. It looks clean. It looks fun and inviting.
Yes.
That, I'm sure, finding the flipping font must have taken you days and days and weeks of yes and no's and failures. Take me through the process, because I think a lot of people, I've never interviewed anyone who's created a makeup brand, especially one that is, healthy and vegan and all that jazz.
So, I mean, there's 2 parts to this. Obviously, there's the branding side of what it took to create the brand, and then there's the manufacturing side of what it took to create the products. From a branding side, I was definitely inspired by like international trends, but like I said, I wanted to make it kind of South African. So the playfulness, the colorfulness, that's kind of a reference to that South African spirit, but the simplicity is more bringing in the international side to it. But I also, luxury brands these days are all kind of looking the same. You know what I mean? There's this, it's black and white and it's simple and it's got this bold sans serif logo. And I just wanted Gloei to kind of be the antithesis to that. It's fun and it's playful and it's different.
Let's talk about business and having friends in business. So like, are friends supporting it? Like, are friends or family supporting it? Because sometimes you realize when you have a business, you're like, okay, cool, who's my real friend? Who's my real family? Like
it is really funny.
And so like, can you have a freebie? No. Are you gonna buy my product?
Right.
And get other people to buy it? How's that?
So it's been both of those, right? So my immediate family have been amazing. They've been like the biggest support system. They've even been my product testers, my assistants, my models. So they kind of play all those roles. And then even it's been interesting, like my wider friend circle, my wider acquaintance circle, like who is the people that are buying versus who are the people that are asking for free stuff. But all in all, any interest is just, it's really appreciated. People have been amazing about it.
Okay, let's go. If Gen Zs are watching, a lot of Gen Zs have a lot of side hustles. You know, some of them don't have university training, so a lot of them are very different to what we were. We were taught, go to school, high school, 4 years, get out, whatever. If you could give any advice to any Gen Zs who are listening to this, who want to start a brand, give them some advice and chat to the Gen Zs, because they are your biggest target market. And obviously, a lot of them want to start these brands.
Yeah, they're ambitious.
Yeah, very.
And they do want to do their own thing. They don't just want to work for a corporation. So, I mean, there's many different paths to get to this. I'd say probably if it's not going to be studying, then it will be experience. So get an internship, even if it's unpaid, and build up that experience and build up the network. Because at the end of the day, South Africa and Cape Town especially is very small, and it can be about who you know, and not in a superficial way. It can be like real, genuine connections. Even for me, it was very serendipitous how this all kind of came together. The cosmetic chemist who works for the manufacturer that makes my products is a friend of a friend. So even like those connections, like I could have never done it otherwise, because especially in South Africa, these companies don't even have websites. So for me to find a manufacturer, if it wasn't for word of mouth and network, would have been impossible. So I think that's really important.
What is the first thing you did when you were like, I'm going to do this? What is the first thing you did? Piece of paper? What did you do?
Yes, it was. I'm a list girl.
Yeah, because I realized, because a lot of these Gen Z people, they see people succeeding, people who are 22, 20 years old, who are multimillionaires, and they're like, I'm going to do it now. But they're all basics before you're able to flare.
And it's also like a waiting game. You need patience. Because I actually started, the idea was March 2020, and then I had my first meeting November 2020, and we launched in August 2022. So in March, I was like, there's no way this is ever going to happen. But I mean, it takes time and you need to stick with it. So the first thing I did is draw up a Google Doc and make a Pinterest board. And I started from there. I started brainstorming names. I was living in the States at the time, so I would like be going around with my list of names to my friends, being like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And funny enough, it was actually the Americans that loved Gloei or Gloei. They thought it sounded so funny and cute.
What are you doing in America?
So I was studying. I did my master's degree over there. I went
in what?
In fashion studies is what the course was called. So I was working in the fashion industry, and I did my master's both in Paris and New York, which was an amazing experience. And I mean, that was also a huge privilege to be able to do that, right? And then from there, I got a job in New York in the fashion industry, and I was working there for a year, and then COVID happened.
So then, okay, tell me about if you had Gen Zs in this room, like 30 Gen Zs in this room, what kind of things would you check with them? Would you run by them to be able to help your brand grow more and more? Because we're talking about Gen Zs and businesses that are affected by Gen Zs. What do you think for me? What kind of information, if you can get into the brain of a Gen Z person, what kind of stuff would you like to learn?
I mean, first and foremost, it would be the product itself. Like, what do they like about it? What don't they like about it? How can we change it? What would they like to see from us in the future? So, I mean, we want the product to be good because that is the heart of the brand. And then beyond that, maybe what kind of content would they like to see from us? Because we do market on social media first, and there's different ways to do it. But I think we've been showing a lot of behind the scenes, and Gen Z seems to love that, which it's also, this is very new. Companies don't usually show like what it looks like in the factories, what it looks like in the warehouse. But Gen Z just, they love this information, and they find this information, and they just have, they know a lot more than we did.
And marketing on social media, what do you think? Can you see the return on investment in marketing on social media? Can you see the reach? Because sometimes people spend a lot of money on online content, but sometimes they're not seeing the return on investment?
Sure. I mean, I've been very like risk averse with that. So our content mostly isn't paid or sponsored. So it's all very organic. And obviously the return is amazing because we're not really spending money on it. So a lot of the content actually is genuinely from customers. So a customer might buy it from us, but then because they're part of the social media generation, they share that experience. Luckily, the experience has been largely positive. So then we can reshare that content. And it's just this amazing piece of marketing because you're hearing the experience of a brand from a peer's mouth. So it just feels more genuine and trustworthy than when it's only coming from the brand.
And how's the influencer marketing been going? Because sometimes I've learned that if I see a particular influencer who I trust, I'll be like, cool man, Trevor said that. I trust Trevor because I know Trevor. Okay, cool. Let's go and do that. Are you quite particular about influencers?
Yes. The funny thing is the influencers that you think are going to be the ones that sell all the product, it's usually not them.
So this is what I've learned. There are certain influencers online. For example, I'll give you an example. I'm going to say men and women because I don't want to be... So some influencers are usually topless, muscles, and selling, and they're trying to sell something, and then you have others who are in bikinis or whatever. Then you're like, okay, cool, they have the biggest following, they have 2 million. Then you're like, yes! And you realize that their followers are not following them because they follow them because they want to look at their six packs and look at their cleavage. But then you realize you get an influencer who has 10,000 and then they have, and then 10% of that 10,000 are people who want to really consume the content. And how do you pick the right people is what I'm talking about. That's the difficulty.
It's trial and error. It's trial and error. So I'm still figuring it out. What has happened with me is maybe we might gift a few different influencers and then you can see who is the one making the sales. Like maybe someone's mentioning it and directly after that mention you're getting orders for the colors specifically that they've mentioned. So right now there's only really 2 influencers that whenever they give me a shout out, the orders are coming in. And then those are the influencers that we give discount code to and work to.
Will you mention them?
Okay, so the one is a good friend of mine. Her name is Looks by Lily.
Oh, yes, I know,
so she's a good friend of mine. So that's actually how that relationship started is we knew each other on a personal level, and then she would just mention the brand.
Another one?
And the other one, she's called Vitagirl, South Africa. Also, just someone who purchased the product, spoke about them, and then I noticed like this increase in sales whenever she had mentioned them. So she asked.
My friend is one of the creators of... what's that company when it brings food to your house and you can make it yourself?
You Cook?
You Cook.
Yeah.
And Minnie van der Westhuizen was just... and then sales and woof, and Minnie was just doing her thing. So that if it clicks, it absolutely clicks. You know what I mean? Not everyone... For example, sometimes... the other day someone gave me something and people know that I don't drink alcohol. They're like, oh, can you please be off Facebook? And I was like, it doesn't really work. I don't drink alcohol, never have. You know what I mean? So it's got to be like there's got to be like a link. It's got to be a link.
But at the same time, like I just found that this is all, what's the word? Like it just came together kind of not by coincidence, but I don't know how you would plan for that. You know what I mean? Because some of the people that I had listed as people that I think would be good salespeople, like it isn't.
I've seen it a lot in social media. Like there's certain people who've created a consistent brand. And another thing about Gen Zs, they're not stupid.
Exactly.
People like to think Gen Zs are stupid. We can say what we want about them. We can say what we want, but they're not stupid. They're all about authenticity. They can smell the bullshit.
Exactly.
They can, and you can see it online in transference of engagement and sales and reach. If you could speak to your younger self, your Gen Z self, what would you tell her? Because I'm sure she had no idea she wanted to start a makeup brand.
No, and definitely not at this age. I always knew I wanted to do something, but when I was older and had all this experience.
Remember when we were younger? 29 was old. We were like, this person's old. And the other day I saw grey in my beard, and I was like, when I was a kid, if you were 37, you were someone's dad. Right. You were someone's dad. I'm not someone's dad.
No.
Not that I know of.
But I feel like we also, like it's a generation where you're getting older at an older age.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So 37 now is not what 37 was.
Definitely.
50 years ago. But yeah, I mean, what I'd say to my younger self is basically just don't be scared to take that chance. Because it was very scary. I was like, I'm not ready for this. But I mean, so far, so good.
And what about funding? Because sometimes people have concepts and ideas and you're like, I just don't have the money to start it or the backing. What advice can you have? Because, What do you think? It's good advice for people who are starting off.
I mean, start small and get proof of concept. And then if you have proof of concept, you can reach out to someone to fund you. But you need to have something behind you to show what you're capable of. I do get people reaching out to me, and then like they don't have a CV, they don't have any work experience, they don't have a portfolio. You can't take someone at face value. They need to have something.
Give yourself a fighting chance.
Yes, exactly.
Give yourself a fighting chance. Any final words about the brand, lessons that you've learned, things you want to share?
Good question. There's so much that I want to share. I never know where to begin.
Yeah. Do it all, girl.
Let's talk about which part.
Anything.
Maybe let's talk about the ingredients. Have we spoken about
No, we haven't. That's another. Talk about ingredients. And if they say it's vegan, does it mean you can eat it? Or does it mean no animals have been harmed in the making of it?
The second one.
Okay,
I wouldn't recommend eating it,
okay,
but
cool.
There's no toxic ingredients in there. You'd probably be okay.
Yeah. But
it's not going to taste great.
But hasn't been tested on rabbits.
No, so vegan as in there's no animal-derived ingredients, and it's not tested on animals, which Gen Z is very particular about.
Yeah, they like the animals.
Yes, they want the animals to be running around and not be in their makeup.
Some Gen Zs even want to eat burgers and go, as long as no animal was hurt in the making of this burger, I'm like, okay, what is in your product?
So this is also what makes it really special and maybe ethical, and also why it's not particularly cheap. It's all skincare grade ingredients, and it is largely African botanicals. So there's also a bit of South Africa in the formulation itself. So we use ingredients like baobab seed oil, aloe vera, chamomile, which are all also ingredients that help protect the skin from the harsh environment in the Southern Hemisphere. So it's also kind of cool that it's for people that live in the South. So it's a very healthy product.
Nice.
You can basically sleep in it.
And that's another thing why sometimes when I have a lady over and she takes 10 minutes to take off her makeup, I'm like, as a man, I would sleep in my makeup every day.
I mean, maybe not every day, but if you sleep in it,
even when I do a shoot and they put makeup on me, I sleep in it.
Yeah, you're not about that life.
No, I could not.
For me, even, I mean, a lot of people look down on people who like to wear makeup to the gym or to the beach, but this is the perfect product for that, where it's super natural, it's not bad for your skin, you're not going to look like a crazy person in your full face of makeup on the beach or at the gym. But
let's end off with failures, because people like to talk about the successes. Let's end off about failures of the brand, how the difficulties, the ups, the downs. You got through COVID in New York, you got up, delayed meetings. Let's end off with the negative parts that you've overcome in creating the brand.
I mean, the most negative part for me is the long wait times, and I've not completely overcome that. But because our product is developed from scratch, which, fun fact about the cosmetics industry, it's very common practice to white label, meaning you buy an existing formula, you put it in your branding, and you sell that. And that's an easy way to quickly launch many different products. But we don't do that. Our formulas are all developed from scratch. So it takes a really long time because we go through so many iterations before we land on a final product, and then we still need to do testing and make sure that it's obviously safe and perfect. So those long lead times are a massive challenge, and especially because you get so excited, right?
Yes.
It's like, I got this new product and it's coming out and I want to tell everyone about it, I want to show them the samples, but there's no point to do that.
It's like when you figure out you're pregnant and then you have to wait 9 months to meet this little thing.
That's an amazing analogy. I'm going to use that
I'm actually very proud of that analogy. As I thought, I was proud of this.
That's a very good one.
And then when it comes out, you're like, oh, Gloei.
And similar timelines, because it's a year between.
And then you're like, oh, Gloei.
Exactly. And it is like that, like we were saying, we're growing older at a delayed rate. So this kind of is my baby for now.
Well, congratulations. I love your humble passion for the brand. Gen Zs are loving it. I love the ethics of it. I love your story. So thank you so much for being here. This was great.
Thank you for having me.
Great chatting to you.
Thank you.